Hey guys, I'm Nick and welcome back to the channel. I hope you're having a wonderful holiday season right now. And we're talking about Star Trek Discovery Season 4, Episode 6, entitled Stormy Weather. Interesting episode. It seemed like it was a bit of a return to a bit more classic sort of Star Trek storytelling style. This episode directed by Jonathan Frakes. We got to see the Discovery enter the void, which is the subspace rift created by the DMA, and how they contended with this challenge in this episode. So let's break down the episode and see what it was all about. So for starters, we had quite a nice opening to this episode in terms of Burnham constructing her own family tree. We saw this family tree in last week's episode by the race, the Akali that they rescued from the asteroid before it was all destroyed by the DMA, and Burnham recovered this family tree from the bloke who'd murdered her family member, and Burnham has decided to put one of these things together herself. I think this episode, there's a few little, almost what you feel like a little Christmas links, I think. Being the last episode of Discovery that airs right before Christmas, I think the whole kind of adorning the tree with different photos and baubles of family members and crew members and people in Burnham's life that meant something to her. I think there's certainly a little bit of a Christmassy vibe about this ornamented tree that she was putting together. And we found out pretty soon in this episode that we're going to enter the subspace rift that the DMA has caused. They're trying another one of these episodes where we're trying to gather as much data as we possible to work out what the deal is with the DMA. And there was a nice little reference here where we saw Saru and Burnham chatting about when the Enterprise entered sort of subspace rifts and when the Voyager entered subspace rifts. I'm guessing these are references to the past Star Trek episodes back in Season 2 of Next Generation, where Silence has lease, where we saw the Enterprise enter a black sort of starless void. And we all obviously had a Voyager episode where piloted the ship through this black void of space as well. So it was a nice little reference, I think, to those past episodes of Star Trek where we saw not only the Voyager but also the Enterprise enter similar black starless voids. One interesting creative choice, which I got to say surprised me that it came from Jonathan Frakes as the director of this episode, but in an earlier montage where we saw the crew prepping to go to work, there was a lot of split screens and a lot of wipes and everything, and it's sort of like, hang on, what is this? This split screens and wipes and whatever, it sort of didn't necessarily feel like a Star Trek thing. I think wipes obviously are a big Star Wars thing. They use wipes as scene transitions in Star Wars quite regularly, but split screens and these wipes or whatever, it felt like it was trying to be a bit sort of comic book style, which I'm not sure really kind of fit. It sort of seemed a bit jarring to me that to suddenly just crowbar in this sort of montage of wipes and split screens, it kind of felt out of place. This was also one of the episodes where we got quite a substantial amount of airtime with Zora, the ship's computer. She sort of chimed in on a few things in the past, but we've been learning a little bit more about Zora as we've been going through the episodes, and it is definitely interesting to see her develop, gain emotions. She's nervous, she's afraid, the emotions are developing there, she's gaining some form of sentience, and they're definitely calling on Zora almost like you would another crew member. I think a lot more than what you would if it was just the average ship's computer. Because we kind of know where Zora has to end up from the short trek episode where we saw the Discovery kind of, had been abandoned or put in a nebula or something for 1,000 years. And we know that Zora was kind of running the computer then. So we sort of know that this essentially this moment is kind of coming. But it's sort of interesting to see how Zora is developing in these episodes. And once the Discovery is trapped inside the DMA's subspace rift, we've obviously got, breaches forming on the hull. We've got crew members being blown out into space. It's eating away at the ship and it's kind of surrounding it. And they've got a short amount of time before they have to get out, before the whole rift eats away at the Discovery and destroys it completely. And much like in previous episodes where we saw Book seeing Leto, his nephew, running around the hallways of his ship, now we've got him having conversations with his father, where we get to learn a few extra little bits and pieces, such as Book's original name. Obviously we know that Cleveland Booker wasn't his original name, that he chose that name as a homage to somebody, I don't know, who had an influence on his life or something to that effect. But we actually found out that Book's real name is in fact Tarex. One thing I did really like about this episode is it definitely felt like an ensemble episode. We got other crew members chiming in with input and feedback and suggestions and everything. We got to see Detmer, and we got to see Awoshikun, and we got to see Bryce, Reese. Everybody was kind of chiming in with suggestions. We had a little exchange between Awoshikun and Saru in terms of a story that she told him about her past and a friend of hers, where you kind of feel like, oh, okay, we're actually getting some character development. Only it's taken 4 years on this show where these, I think, which I'm guessing that's probably Jonathan Frakes' input a little bit, I think, maybe. It just feels like, and I've said this many, many times before, that we so often just feel like the Discovery bridge crew, at least, are glorified extras. We don't know them very well. We don't know their history or their backstory or, their personality much more than two-dimensionally. So whenever we get scenes like this where we get a little bit of a glimpse into our bridge crew, where we get to learn a bit about Awoshikun or Detmer or Bryce or Reese or whoever else, Nilsson, it's great. It's great. Then it sort of starts to feel like, oh, we're getting back into the ensemble cast again, which is what Star Trek is all about, the ensemble cast. I think the more of this, the better. We got a lot of chit-chat between Gray and Zora playing chess and talking about, what's going on with the rift that they're in and all that sort of thing, which I think in this context, it worked okay. I think because we had a lot of involvement from other cast members in this episode, I think the stuff with Gray seemed okay because it wasn't all about Gray or all about Adira. We got a little bit of everybody, which felt a lot more balanced in this episode, and it wasn't sort of too one-sided. And of course, the major piece of information that we got to learn in this episode was the fact that the DMA originates from outside the Milky Way galaxy. So it's outside the Alpha, Beta, Gamma, Delta Quadrant area. It's from another galaxy altogether. And this is sort of very rare that we kind of get other things going on from outside the galaxy. I think most often if they get things going on in Star Trek, it's Gamma Quadrant or Delta Quadrant or Beta Quadrant. It's areas of that galaxy that is unexplored that we get exposure to, but we never really kind of get anything coming in from outside the galaxy. So we now can pretty much rule out any known races or known people from the Alpha, Beta, Gamma or Delta quadrants, because we know now that the DMA is from outside the galaxy. I like the fact that we had Bryce giving the suggestion of the sonar ping to kind of help to lead them out of the rift. That was a little good input. I think obviously we've had Bryce chiming in with a few little suggestions this season with the kite surfing and now with the sonar ping. There's a few little tidbits of advice and help that he's offered, which is great. And in a hark back to the Next Generation episode Relics, where we saw Scotty put himself inside the pattern buffer to save his own life, we've pretty much adopting the same strategy in this episode, where to get the crew through the fiery barrier and out of the rift, we've got everybody going into the pattern buffer. Although it kind of struck me as a little bit odd as to why Burnham needed to stay on board the ship, considering Zora seemed to be doing all of the work anyway and doing all the navigating, and she was the one that was waking everybody up out of the pattern buffer once they were past the dangerous part. It sort of seemed odd that Burnham needed to stay on the bridge in an EV suit. It's sort of, why couldn't she go in the pattern buffer as well, seeing as how Zora was essentially doing all of the work. It was fun to see Zora sing a song to Burnham to calm her nerves. It sort of reminded me a little bit of the opening to Star Trek Picard, where we heard the song of Blue Skies being sung by Daj or Soji. So it sort of felt a little bit like that same sort of type of song, but in this case it was stormy weather, as obviously a homage to the dangerous stormy situation they've got themselves into. Obviously at the end we've got the Discovery in space dock being repaired with a lot of damage and stuff that was caused to the ship, which good that the programmable matter can repair it so quickly. And it was good to see Zora's tree. She did her own tree with all of the Discovery crew at the end of the episode, which definitely felt very Christmassy. And definitely bookended the episode with Burnham's tree at the start and Zora's tree at the end. Very, very Christmas bauble on the Christmas tree kind of ending, I thought, for this episode, which was very fitting considering when it aired. Guys, I hope you enjoyed this episode of Star Trek Discovery. Have a really Merry Christmas, everybody. I hope you all have the best Christmas, and yourselves and all of your families are safe in this crazy COVID era in which we're now living, and that we have a really good 2022. That's hopefully got to be better than 2021, hopefully. But yeah, all the best to everybody. Please leave a super thanks if you're able to. Much appreciated. It really helps the channel out. Thanks for all your viewership this year, guys. I appreciate it so much. And leave a like and a comment in this video. Let me know what you thought. Subscribe if you haven't already done so, and please check out my merch store where you can pick up some cool Star Trek t-shirts. As always, for Christmas, there's always a bargain going on. Check it out. And I will see you very soon, guys, for my next video. Have the best Christmas ever, and I'll see you guys soon. Cheers.